Getting to a million, I find pretty easy. And that's why we built Customers on Demand. That teaches exactly this, how to go from 0 to a million. It's repeatable, it's scalable, and you got to do it over and over again.
Welcome back to the Business Growth Mindset Podcast, where we help business owners and founders scale their businesses with clarity, strategy, and confidence. What are the key components of a high-performing lead generation system?
Man, this is like me being on Growth Beyond Hustle podcast with Adrian. He just loves asking me like all the IP questions. Like, mate,
I mean,
how much do you want me to give away here?
This is going to be hard because it's like slightly different, I know, across industries, but there's a core set, I reckon, you can pull out for us.
There is. Look, there is. I would say that there are 5. Okay. And by the way, again, these are just my opinions. They're not, I don't have a PhD in lead generation. I might have one in terms of experience and years of spending a lot of money, but 5 key components that every high performance system actually needs. One is really clear positioning, right? An irresistible lead magnet, right? Whether it's a mini magnet or something else. And by magnets, I don't mean that you got to run ads to them. A reliable traffic source, really important. A nurture sequence, because the solution seekers make up about 3%. The rest are researchers. So you can't leave the 97% on the table. So you need a nurture sequence that works. And then you actually need a very clear conversion mechanism. So let me just dive a little bit into that, because if people are new to this game, they'll be like, what the hell did you just say? So if we talk about clear positioning, if your message is unclear, you're invisible. It's that simple. Now, so I'm just going to repeat that. If your message is unclear, you are invisible. So you need to articulate your value in a way that immediately speaks to your ideal client's pain point, but also their desires. So many people market to pain. I like to market to desire. Do you want to take your $1 million business to 5 million? I can show you how to do that. I've done it. I'm not even come up with a number because it's a lot of times, right? So getting to a million, I find pretty easy. And that's why we built COD, Customers on Demand. That teaches exactly this, how to go from 0 to a million. And it's repeatable, it's scalable, and you got to do it over and over again. And therefore, at Growth School, we've kind of gone, okay, you're $1 million or close to $1 million business, or you're even a $5 million business and you want to go and double, right? Yeah. Do you want to go to 1 to 2 or 5 to 10? The systems and processes are kind of similar, right? But your messaging has got to be clear, right? Yeah. So then you've got to look at, okay, what's the irresistible lead magnet? Well, what's the irresistible offer, right, that I could give? Give something of real value, right? A way that solves a small problem, but it's a meaningful problem. Okay. Yeah. Now, what this does is it builds trust and it starts a relationship with, reciprocity, right? Okay. That's a one word that I can never get out of my head, right?
Every time.
But the reality of it is, it's just give value away. Like this podcast is giving value away. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, I think we've got it tracked, but the amount of clients that have gone, I've been listening and binging to your podcast. And then I'm like, well, where did you come from? And then I was on your Instagram and I was watching all your reels. And then I went to your YouTube channel and I watched, their long format, which is this. And then you gave me away a lead magnet. Well, they don't say lead magnet, but you gave away like your freedom framework. And I was like, I need that. But you didn't even ask me for my email address. So it was literally like, just send me a DM and I'll just send it to you. And that's the point. Like we don't want to spam people. I have no time for that shit, right? But there are certain things that we do put behind a sort of a gateway, because they're assets that we go, well, if you want it, you're going to have to give me something, right? And so that's then where we go, all right, the nurturing system. But let me go back, because I kind of just missed a step with the reliable traffic source. Whether it's organic or paid, right, your content needs to be consistently visible. Okay. So you got to show up where your audience is, not just where it's convenient for you. And that's why I use the example when we ask people, they may have come from listening to, seeing a reel, right? And then all of a sudden going onto YouTube and then getting something, or they may have gone to, they didn't even need to go and see a longer format. They consumed 10, 15 reels and went, mate, this guy knows what he's talking about. Thanks, I appreciate it. And I get a lot of that. We see it in our DMs. People are like, wow, that really helped me. That really changed my. People don't really give a shit about what I've done or where I've been. It's the message that matters, right? Like no one gives a shit about my past or my present. What people want to know is, can I solve a problem for you? Right. And so that's what it is. And so we try and do that in bite-sized pieces. Then if they're binging, then they're being nurtured. That's our kind of, we post twice a day on Instagram, and that means that you can get fresh content that's relevant for you. Because also remember, the same people aren't always consuming your content. Some people go away from it. I was looking at some stats this morning at like 4 o'clock. And because that's what time I get up to look at stats. I wake up and my brain's like, let me have a look at the data for the week. And I was looking at someone who has been stalking me from Perth. And I say this because in a really cool way, stalking in a proper marketing sense. They actually came into originally into our lead gen system in January 10th. And I remember it because me and my bloody photographic memory when it comes to numbers. And then they binged on some content and then disappeared for a whole month. No activity. Right? And people are like, how do you do this? Well, this is pixels and it's a whole bunch of stuff. So we can track what people open, how they open it. And then out of nowhere, they opened an email, they engaged with the email, they wrote back to an email because it was a hand raiser. And next minute, they're re-binging on YouTube every single day. And not just binging, they are liking the post. Okay? And I'm like, wow. So what's our next part of that? It's the clear conversion mechanism. All right. Again, this is where I'm trying to give you guys, if I'm going to give you value, I may as well tell you exactly how we do it. Right. So whether that's a strategy call or a webinar or a DM, in our case, for Growth School, you can only get into Growth School if you actually book a fit call. Right. And then you have to do an application form if you pass the fit call. If you pass the application process, whereby myself and 2 members randomly chosen will review your application, you then get an interview with me, right? Now, a lot of people go, and what? You get heaps of signups, heaps. We turn down, 50% of the people that want to join, right? Because we're like, we need to put the right people in. We need to protect this community that we've built, right? The great thing is that I get to pick and choose who I want there, right? And a lot of time we'll invite guests knowing they're not big enough to join just because we want to help them and give them the experience, right? Because, unfortunately, I love to help as many people as I possibly can, right? And so, I now that's the advantage of having group programs, is that I can put someone in there from a corporate social responsibility, help them change their life. That changes their family's life. And guess what? Then they end up becoming a paying customer. Right. And it's like, but when you do that one-on-one, you're trading time for money. It's actually impossible. So with this person, we've started an SBC, like a sell by chat conversation. And this person, if they're listening to this, are going to know, because they're going to be like, aha, he's talking about me. Right. And we've just been having this really cool conversation about what her problems are. And so I'm just getting to know the person. And the irony of it is, people people think it's me on those chats. Sometimes it is. Like this morning, it was me. I actually jumped in and did the chat, but then it'll be one of the team. It'll be Jessica or Joralene, and it'll be someone else just continually asking the questions and then getting people to move through the cycle. So again, people say to me, how do you have all these businesses and all these companies? Systems and processes. And you might want to listen to previous episodes that we've done where we share that. Like, we don't hide anything, right? So what's really important and is that leads aren't the goal. Okay. And this is the mistake everybody makes in marketing. Leads aren't the goal. Qualified leads who are ready to engage. That's the goal. So you got to build a system that attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. And I love saying no, don't I want it? It's like, it is, my wife says that my every word is I say is no, right? It's like before I even say, before the question's even finished, I'm like, no.
But I think that's where we've had lots of wins. I know early on, I think it was when we first started Customers on Demand, and we had someone come in that was just like wildly the wrong fit. They did not
Oh,
fit
I know
the
exactly who
group.
you're
They did
talking about.
not
I
fit with,
remember him by name. I will
and
not
we had
mention.
to kick him out eventually because he was just making the rest of our customers who are paying and they've paid good money and they deserve to be treated well and looked after. He was one taking up everyone's time, like just all the oxygen in the room was being consumed by him, and then also not behaving in a reasonable way to the other customers. So we had to cut that nice and quickly. And then we really went back. I remember going and looking at our avatar and making sure we built in all those culture things as well to make sure anyone that came into our environment actually fit with us. And that's such an important thing when you are getting your whole marketing system together. Make sure you've actually taken the time to think about who you want. Don't get anyone in the world. It'll end up taking 5 times as long, and then it will start pushing away people that are your ideal clients. If you start taking on the wrong people, it can have just awful effects on your business.
10 out of 10, Bonnie. 10 out of 10. Right? Like, absolutely. I 100% concur with you.
Yeah.